law rules concerning procedures and other rules.
Yes.
So the idea is, whether it was 6 April or any other movement, we all have to understand as Egyptians that no one is above the law, and everyone have to act up on that very clear fact. It's very much negative and very much causing us chaos in general, that somebody would think that I am above the law, and the law I'm not going is not going to be applied on me because I am that figure, I am above it. No, no one is above the law. This is the dream of Egypt for the future. Everyone is committed, everyone is an individual, have equal rights and equal obligations, and whoever does something wrong, he will be accountable in terms of his behaviors before law and before the court, and he will be enjoying a full range of procedure guarantees that will give him his rights, and also will give the community its rights. We're talking about the right of the community of stability, of the rule of law, and we are talking on the other part of the equation on an individual right to protect himself. So you have always this equation of community interest and individual interest. The judge and the court and the rule of law is the mechanisms that is making that kind of legal and fair balance between the community interest and the individual interests.
Yes. The Egyptian court on Monday sentenced the chief of the outlawed Muslim Brotherhood, Mohammed Badia, and 682 of the group supporters to death. Their charges included inciting violence in the period after Morsi's ouster last summer. What are the expected outcomes of such a ruling? Because this is the second one which has mass death penalty.
Well, probably the sentence, or they're referring those number to the Al-Mufti, or the highest Islamic entity for getting approval for issuing sentence of death. It looks shocking in terms of the number of those people who were referred to this sentence. From the other hand, we have also to put on the picture the atrocities that have been committed by those people, especially those who committed huge activities of sabotage, of demolishing police stations, churches, and a lot of people, officials and even normal citizens have been targeted as victims, and they were killed during this sort of riots that came after the intervention of the police in terms of Rabaa sit-in. That process is really complicated, and what makes it shocking for some people is they don't know the scenario of the events when it happened. So they didn't know the volume of the damage, the volume of the destruction, the volume of burning facilities and official and non-official facilities or buildings, demolishing completely police stations in different places, also demolishing some churches and places for worshiping God, killing some officials, officers, and other non-commissioned officers and soldiers. So in terms of the penal code itself, the principle is there that the sentence death could be there for even more than one if they are accomplices in one crime. Even if the evidence is clear and the judge feel okay that those people have committed this particular crime, yes, the sentence death could be the sentence of death could be issued for more than one, more than 10, more than 15.
Yes.
So it's still early. Also,
it was a very swift decision.
Yeah,
I mean, the process itself was very quick, and we also have to compare it. So it's been almost a year, and but at the same time, there has been 3 years that passed ever since the 25th of January revolution. People also looking for justice for the death and what happened and the unrest that happened on the 25th of January and beyond 25th of January. No one was convicted until this moment.
Well, the difference. Well, thank you for that question, because actually you are comparing two two odd events. They are diametrically different. And the events that followed 25th January, where a lot of Egyptian youth either killed or injured, it was a common crime that the perpetrators were impossible to identify by names and by person. And when it comes to the procedural law, the criminal procedural law, you're talking about killing, a crime of killing. And that crime, the sentence is death. That's why it's very necessary to identify the perpetrators. And the events that followed 25th January, it was impossible to identify them, whether the perpetrators were coming from within the demonstrators themselves, or coming from the security side or security forces side, or other mass groups of people that were probably against the main people in the street, or the main masses in the streets. So you have always this kind of
like a sort of a clash between the police forces and the Muslim Brotherhood members.
The responsibility is not clear enough, and that's for any judge. He cannot go ahead. It's going to take a long time, and probably if he's not fully convinced that those people committed this particular crime, he is not going to issue a sentence.
In your opinion, was it planned that way? Was it planned in a way that conviction would be impossible for those who, attempted those murder cases?
What do you mean by that?
What I'm meaning is, today what you're saying, in the current sentence, it's obvious that the Muslim Brotherhood and the supporters were clashing with police forces, and then, like you mentioned, you're identifying who's responsible for the death.
Yeah, that's the main issue.
That's the main issue. But back then, in 25th of January, do you think it was done on purpose?
To look that vague?
To look that vague in order not to convict anyone?
Why not? Why not? It's an endless questions that you can never, probably you'll never find an answer to. Let me remind you that at that particular phase, our borders were nearly open, so everyone, a lot of people managed to come in from Gaza, from our border with Gaza Strip. Also our western border with Libya was totally open. A huge amount of weapons have been smuggled into the country. So internationally, when I witnessed that kind of activities in different places, working with the United Nations, and we know exactly that during that kind of transition, revolution, the community is very weak.
So let me tell you the issue here. My last question to you. There has been a lot of videos on the 25th of January revolution with identified people, identified faces who were killing protesters. And until this moment also, conviction and sentences did not happen.
No, when you have, that's the main issue, and I thank you for that. When you have an evidence telling that particular person have committed particular crime, it's it. Then the idea is the conviction of the judge that a particular person committed particular act. If that conviction is not clear enough, is not assured at his internal psyche, he is not going to issue a sentence. But if you say about a video that telling that
this
is a clear evidence. Especially, of course, it will not be taken for granted, but sometimes you can, falsify videos.
Exactly.
So it has to go through a process of technical checking to make sure that this video is genuine. It's not like cut and paste and that kind of stuff.
Right, Dr. Ibrahim Ghazawi, lecturer of human rights and international law and expert of law enforcement establishment reforms. It has been a great pleasure. Thank you very much for your input. And thank you very much for your insights too, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Let's move now to a short break and returning back for more.